Hey everybody, this is the Shenandoah County Sheriff, Tim Carter, and thanks for joining us today. I've got a special guest with me, a guy that I've known for a long time, Steve Shaffer. Steve, thanks for coming in this morning.
Appreciate the invite.
And Steve is he is running for school board in District 4. That's pretty much Woodstock, the Woodstock area.
The town of Woodstock and
right,
a little bit to the west.
Right. And I've known Steve for, long time. I mean, I think my first contact with you, we were on a board called Youth for Christ. And that kind of, I'm not sure if it evolved or developed into Young Life.
Yes, it evolved into the Young Life program.
Yeah, and I think that's still happening in Shenandoah County.
Absolutely. We have a banquet coming up in a couple weeks.
Okay. And so Steve and I were involved in that years ago, and currently we're involved with Rotary together, both part of the Rotary Woodstock Rotary Club.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And Steve is, we have the youth program in Rotary that, there's several youth programs in Rotary, but the one that runs out of Central High School, you're involved in that, the Interact program.
Interact, yes. I've run that program for 7 years.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of contact with Steve, and it's good to see him here. And, you know, I told him when I talked with him prior to us getting here, our big thing with regard to these school board races is to know where candidates' heads are regarding school safety. And yes. I know in Shenandoah County, we were talking earlier, in Shenandoah County, we have a school resource officer program here, and how that developed is basically, I mean, we had school resource officers in the county prior, but we didn't have the robust program that we have today. And there was an incident in Sandy Hook in the northeastern part of the country, and then I think about the same week, very close to that national incident, we had an incident here in Shenandoah County that pretty much shut down the school system that week. And at the time, there was a school superintendent, the guy's name was Keith Rowland, Dr. Rowland, and I had a very good relationship with him. And quite frankly, I think I've had a good relationship with all the superintendents that we've had, and they work well with our staff. And anyway, but at the time, Dr. Rowland was here, and we held these public forums in the three parts of the counties, one in the north, one in the center, one in the south. Mm-hmm. And two things that came out of those forums that the public were pretty vocal on. One was controlled access to schools and improving that. And the other was school resource officers. And yes. At the time, again, with his help and with the school board's help and the Board of Supervisors cooperation, we were actually able to, and we had some outside funding, and we were able to implement a program where we put a school resource officer at each public school, and also, I mean, not to get too far down in the weeds, but I know over time the school system has improved and changed the access, the controlled access piece of that, and I think that's a continual process, quite frankly.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think they've done that. So that's how we got to where we were, and I just wanted to know, you know, what his position was on our school resource officer program.
At the time, I'll be honest, I was not a fan of it.
Yeah.
If we're adding 10 positions
right
into the school educational process, I was very much on the, you know, shouldn't that be more on the educational, the teacher side? Mm-hmm. However, I pretty much kept that to myself mm-hmm. and just observed, which I do over time. Mm-hmm. Much of the last 7 years I've spent involved in the schools in a number of capacities, and I certainly have come 180 degrees and changed my tune. Mm-hmm. I've worked hand in hand very closely with the SROs, and I see what a vital role they have within the school. The training, the experience, the compassion that they bring as well as leadership within the schools.
Right.
I can't say enough positive things about the impact that the SROs have in the schools.
I tell you, they work hard on those relationships with students and the school system. I can't say enough positive things also about the school administrators that we work with. Because some of them, it seems like they stay the same for a long period of time, and then some of them change frequently. And I'm talking about principals, assistant principals, what have you, because of people's careers and things like that. But I got to tell you, we have excellent relationships with those groups of people and have for over those years. And it's really something, our position is we're not there to handle administrative. That's the administration of the school's business.
Absolutely, yeah.
Our position is to be there to protect children and to provide a safe environment for kids and people that are in the facility. And, part of the icing on the cake, quite frankly, is that those other things that we get involved with, as far as like development of kids and the other programs that we've become involved with the kids and the schools over time.
Yes, it's been an excellent partnership over the years, and greatly appreciate the sheriff's department and the wisdom of the community at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm very much a huge cheerleader for the SRO program. I was in Central High School in the classroom doing long-term sub positions when a number of the lockdowns came in, and a gun was found in the school, or suspected threats were there. And those are difficult situations to work through. At one point, I was one of the only adults in a locker room with about 50 boys, and we were trying to get information, but we just had a good situation. Tried to make it the best of the situation. But again, knowing that the resource officers were there and that it was in really sound hands, that gave me confidence that we would eventually get through this. And again, the goal was to keep the children safe.
Right. Yeah, when I was on I'm still on the board of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. I was on a phone call, I think it was last summer. And I don't know what has happened in some of these school districts, but our SROs are not there to arrest kids. I mean, from time to time an incident occurs and it becomes a criminal matter that has to be heard by the court. But behavioral issues and things like that, mental health issues at home with substance abuse and things like that. I mean, yes, there are times where school resource officers are helpful to staff, but that is basically a counseling issue, an administrative issue, and something that I think should not be handled by the law enforcement thing is not an aspect of that. And we try to keep that relationship with those administrators to make sure that if kids need help, I mean, everybody has to understand they're kids, and from time to time they need help. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they should be the focus of a criminal charge or what have you. And we have to keep that dialogue happening, in my mind, between our staff and the schools and the parents and those people that are helping kids, and have an understanding as government to help, let's help these people get successfully through this and not be an obstacle to that. So that's kind of our philosophy here. We're there to protect kids, period.
Absolutely, yeah. The administrators are there to run the schools and to oversee what's going on. But the key word here is resource.
Right.
To have a trained law enforcement with their depth and breadth of knowledge at, just a phone call or a walkie-talkie or just an office away.
Right.
That's just such a tremendous resource for, expanding the knowledge base of the administrators as they're working through situations.
Right. Well, Steve, I really appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit about this issue. It's important to my staff. I think it's important to parents. It's important to people that you have served in the past, and we continue to serve now. And it's something that I think we need to make sure that people know that we're out there to help them and protect their kids. I know, I've been telling friends of mine, and I should mention we have these elections that are coming up, and it's 3 open school board seats, and it's important. I think a lot of times people get really involved in like national elections and national politics, and you're bombarded with that through social media and through news outlets and what have you. And I've always been an advocate that you need to pay attention, the voter, the person that lives in the community. You really need to know who the local people are that are making decisions about your lives, whether they be school board members or board of supervisors members or the sheriff or whoever, because that's where, man, when the rubber hits the road, that's where a lot of decisions are made. That really does directly impact a person's life. And I encourage people to go out and get to know the candidates and get out there and, be a part of the process and elect those local officials. Because I think sometimes people, they minimize that. They'll pay attention to the national and they minimize the local, and they need to pay attention to what's happening locally.
Yes, definitely educate yourself on the candidates. There's still, we're about halfway through the debate season. There's still a number of debates coming up. Particularly for District 4, the 13th and the 19th of this month.
Right.
But educate yourselves, and most importantly, get out and vote. I mean, that's, as a teacher and a leader within the schools, I can't say that to my students enough. Mm-hmm. Get involved in the process and get to know your candidates.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve, is there anything else you wanted to add before we check out of here this morning? Again, I appreciate you coming in and talking with me. Appreciate our friendship and, the projects and things that we've worked on in the past. And thanks again for coming in. But
I appreciate it. We just have, it's just a great community from top to bottom. I've chosen to live here, been here 30 years, and, this is my home forever. So we all just want the best for not only our students, but for the community. We appreciate your support and all that the Sheriff's Department and Fire and Rescue does. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Well, and I tell you, getting back to this community, I know I should mention this. I can't say enough about previous school boards and the relationship that I've had with them personally in this office has had, and I want to continue that. Regardless what the outcome of these local elections are, we want to continue that, and we want to continue that relationship we have with those school administrators too, because I can't say enough about what, you're right, we've got a community here in Shenandoah County from Strasburg to Newmarket and everything in between, where I think people do care about the community. I think they care about kids, and I can't say enough about all of those people, past and those that I'm sure are going to be filling the new positions this coming year. So.
Looking forward to the opportunity.
Okay. Well, again, everyone, thanks for listening. Today I had with me District 4 candidate Steve Shaffer for school board this year. Thank you for listening to us here on The Source. You can find this and other content on all of our social media platforms. You can find our other podcast on my YouTube channel. That's at Sheriff Tim Carter. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe to get our great content. Don't forget to smash that like button. And again, this is Tim Carter. Thanks so much for listening.